Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to Madam Asma and my fellow friends. We are from Group 4. Group 4 is consists for 3 members. My name is Ifan Ali bin Muhammad Ali.
My name is Muhammad Hazim bin Zulkifli.
And my name is Muhammad Aziz bin Muhammad Farouk.
So, today we will present our essay entitled Essential Methods to Speak in Japanese Language. So, I will pass my speech to the next speaker to explain about the essay introduction. So, I will pass the speech to Muhammad Hazim.
Good morning everyone. I am Muhammad Hazib bin Muhammad Farouk and today I will be presenting on the essay's introduction, which consists of the essay's hook sentence, background and thesis statement. I will also be presenting on the body paragraph 1. Next slide. We would like to present on our group essay entitled Essential Methods to Speak in Japanese Language. We chose this title because currently we are studying Japanese language. Next slide. Our essay's hook is "The limits of my language are the limits of my world," which was quoted by Ludwig Wittgenstein. The reason why the book being chosen is because we cannot communicate with other people without learning new language. Due to this reason, we cannot easily exchange new information about the world, and it is hard to do business with the foreigner. Therefore, it is hard for us to expand our career and becoming someone better. Next slide. The background of the essay is generally about Japanese language. Japanese language is originally from Chinese language, and there are 3 types of writing, which are hiragana, kanji, and katakana. If you want to speak in Japanese language, you should learn the letters first. There are 3 ways of speaking in Japanese language, which are tenego, kudaketo nihongo, and keigo. Those 3 are in standard polite language, casual speech, and very polite language. We should expose ourselves by communicating with native speakers or watching Japanese drama so that we can accustom with their speaking ways. Therefore, it is easier for us to brush up our Japanese skill. Next slide. Next, as for the thesis statement, we have arranged the points in parallel structure, which are learning the Japanese alphabet, increasing vocabulary by listening to Japanese podcasts or songs, and communicating with the Japanese native speakers by joining any open events or clubs. We chose these points because these points are the most efficient methods for someone who wants to learn speaking in Japanese language. Next slide. As for body paragraph 1, me myself will be presenting on learning the Japanese alphabet. Then, Irfan Adli bin Muhammad will be presenting on body paragraph 2, which is increasing vocabulary by listening to the Japanese podcasts or songs. And last but not least, Muhammad Hazim bin Zulkifli will be presenting on body paragraph 3, which is communicating with the Japanese native speakers by joining any open events or clubs. So, now, let's move on to the essay's first body paragraph, that is learning the Japanese alphabet. There are 4 categories presented in this paragraph. There are topic sentence, the history of Japanese alphabet, the types of Japanese writing, and the in-text citation. Next slide. The topic sentence for this paragraph is learning the Japanese alphabet. It's one of the essential methods on how to speak in Japanese. Next slide. Now, let us begin with the history of Japanese alphabet. Katakana and hiragana are originated in the 9th century. These 2 types of alphabet were the first truly Japanese alphabets. Katakana and hiragana originated when the Japanese people wanted to create their own writing system distinct from kanji, which was borrowed from the Chinese. Katakana was developed during Han period as a shorthand form of sections of the Mayogana characters. Mayogana characters is also known as the ancient Chinese writing system. What about kanji? Several thousand of kanji characters mostly originated from traditional Chinese characters, which is known as hyo emoji. These kanji characters are used the most by Japanese in their daily life. As for hiragana, hiragana was originally called onnade or woman's hand, as were mainly used by women. Therefore, those are the history of Japanese alphabet. Next slide. Next, we are moving on to the types of Japanese writing. As stated before, Japanese writing are divided into three, which are hiragana, kanji, and katakana. For hiragana, there are 46 characters. These characters are usually being used in grammar and nouns. For example, pretty and because. Hiragana characters are not that difficult to memorize. Furthermore, for kanji, there are thousands of characters. These characters are presented in symbols. All of those symbols have their own meaning. When kanji is used with another kanji, the way of pronunciations is different. Last but not least, for katakana, there are 46 characters, just like hiragana. Katakana characters are used for symbolizing words from different languages. For example, words from English. Katakana characters are sharper in shape compared to hiragana. Next slide. The first in-text citation is by Bagarino and the year of publication is 2017, which explains on the history of Japanese alphabet, which involve kanji and the explanation. The second in-text citation is by Sakasas and the year of publication is 2021, which explains on the difficulty of Japanese language. He confirms that for those whose mother tongue is English, Japanese language is one of the most difficult languages to be learned. The last in-text citation is by Newman and the year of publications is 2021, which explains on learning kanji. It is believed that to learn kanji, there are no time saver as there are a lot of kanji that need to be memorized every single day. So, in conclusion, it is true that learning the Japanese alphabet is one of the ways on how to learn speaking in Japanese. Then, the important point is that we also need to increase the Japanese vocabs. So that is only from me for today. Let's move on to our next speaker, which is Ifan Adli. Thank you.
Thank you, Muhammad Aziz, for the speech. So right now, my name is Ifan Adli. I will explain about the body paragraph 2. The title is Increasing Focus by Listening. So now, the body paragraph 2. This paragraph consists of 4 categories. There are topic sentence, the application of the method, the benefit from listening, and the last one is in-text citation. So I'm going to go to topic sentence. The topic sentence is the method that you need to apply in speaking Japanese is increasing vocabulary by listening to Japanese podcasts or songs. Next, I will talk about the application of the method. So now, I will explain about the application of the method thoroughly. Basically, each person has their own method in learning Japanese language. So for me, I will use listening method. How do I apply it? Nowadays, there are many technology and apps that can help us. For example, Spotify. So why I do really like to use the Spotify? For me, because Spotify have many suitable benefits for audio education. How I use it? First, I will find a song genre that suits with my taste, plus I also choose the nice tempo so that I can easily digest the audio and get the vocab from the song. Furthermore, Spotify has the feature, we call it the lyrics card. It can help us in increasing our vocab easily. Next, Spotify also has many recommended podcasts. So through the podcast, you also can increase the vocab. Plus, you also learn how the Japanese native speakers talk. Besides, there are some podcasters have listed all the vocabs so that you can easily know the content of the podcast. So, next, I will explain about the benefit from listening. From the research, I know that listening to the song can reduce our stress, plus it can help elevate our mood to study and stimulate your brain. Because of that, you can easily remember any information that you got from your study or from your reading or anywhere that have. Besides, you also can easily digest information from the audio material than visual or visual audio material. For example, when you're reading a book, you can easily sleep, but when you hear to the song or any podcast, you can still awake. Plus, it prevents your eyes from eye strain. The additional benefits are that you can increase your knowledge about Japanese culture or the Japanese dialect that Japanese native speakers use in their daily life. Yes. So for the last one, I will explain about the in-text citation. The first in-text citation is by Cam, and the year of the publication is 2015, which explains on the history of Spotify and also the statistic of the user that use Spotify. So, that Spotify is the most popular site for accessing any sound material. The second in-text citation is by EU Business School, and the year of the publication is 2021, which is explained on the comparison between the audio material and visual material. And the last in-text citation is by Miller and others. The year of publication is 2021, which explains on the benefit of listening for people in medical terms. Miller and the others confirm that the patients have reduced discomfort and anxiety after listening to music for around 30 minutes. In a nutshell, you can customize your method in increasing your vocab so you can learn the Japanese language with fun. Next, you can communicate with the Japanese native speakers by using the vocab that you have already obtained. So, for my body paragraph explanation, it is already finished. So I will pass my speech to the last body paragraph to the Mr. Hazim to explain about the body paragraph, the last body paragraph.
Good morning, everyone. Hi there. I am Muhammad Hazim Bezikifli. Will be presenting on the essay last body paragraph. There is join a group such as Japanese Conversation Club. There are 4 categories presented in this paragraph. There are topic sentence, the application of the method, the benefit from communicating, and in-text citation. Next slide. Let's move on to our topic sentence. The topic sentence for this paragraph is join a group such as Japanese Conversation Club. If you are a student of the Japanese language and want a chance to practice your skill, you must join Japanese Conversation Club. Next slide. So, next application of the method. Firstly, to join a group such as Japanese Conversation Club. You can join Jakat Jepun channel. Join group Japanese Conversation at Telegram and Facebook. Secondly, practice for speaking a sentence in conversation for daily life with club members. So, no problem for us to talk to Japanese people in Japan later. Lastly, we use Japanese language exchange apps such as HelloTalk. HelloTalk is a language exchange application that allows you to talk with others from around the world. In addition, HelloTalk is immensely popular with many users who are eager to start a language exchange. Next slide. Turning our attention now to the benefit from communicating with the Japanese native speakers. Firstly, we can learn new vocabulary that we can use in daily life. Next, able to improve pronunciation when speaking in Japanese correctly. Japanese also has its own pronunciation and intonation. Next benefit is can find friends who want to learn Japanese language. This is important to inspire us. Last of benefit from communicating with the Japanese native speaker is can boost our confidence to speak Japanese fluently as it will promote an active conversation. Confidence makes you a better communicator and exuding a more positive attitude. Next slide. Intake citation. The first intake citation is by Academy and the year of publication is 2019, which explains on the benefit of the Japanese Language Exchange Act. The second intake citation is by Bernard and the year of publication is 2018, which explains on the benefit of increasing communication skills. The last intake citation is by Boudier and the year of publication is 2021, which explains on the usage of time for the scholars. While improving the Japanese language, we can make many friends, so we got to know each other and can study Japanese language together. In a conclusion, you can create more methods so that you can easily adapt with the language in any perspective such as talking and listening. Next slide. So, for the last, we go to the conclusion. I would like to thesis this statement the point that I have presented. Next slide. The first of thesis statement is learning the Japanese alphabet because it is the very first step on how to speak in Japanese. Japanese language learners not only can speak in Japanese, but also be able to write in Japanese with correct grammar and spelling. Next, listening to the Japanese podcast and songs. We have to remember that when you are listening to the podcast, you can know many things about Japanese such as their culture, history, and the best place to travel in Japan. Last thesis statement is joining a group such as Japanese Conversation Club. Through join a group such as Japanese Conversation Club, we can learn new vocabulary and boost our confidence to speak Japanese fluently as it will promote an active conversation. Next slide. Turning our attention now to final impression. The first point of final impression is fun because there are many ways that you can use to adapt with your study style. This is important because we must study smart, not study hard. The second point of final impression is we can learn many things about the language. For example, the history of the language, how the language was treated. In a nutshell, study language is one way to penetrate the language barrier. Language barrier is a difficulty for people communication because they speak different language. So, that's all from us. I sincerely appreciate your attention today. Thank you for listening. Assalamualaikum and goodbye.
Assalamualaikum.